According to Campbell, a staff reporter for the Tribune, the Sivananda Ashram Yoga Retreat is now claiming that TaylorCasey was not abducted from the site and that evidence suggests she left the retreat voluntarily. Peter Goudie, a spokesperson for the retreat, accuses TaylorCasey's family of false and defamatory claims, not based on facts, he says. TaylorCasey's mother, however, Colette Seymour, sees things differently. She told NBC the retreat struggled to maintain a cohesive narrative regarding her daughter's disappearance and discouraged loved ones from talking to guests. TaylorCasey, a 41-year-old woman from Chicago, was last seen on June 19, 2024, at the Sivananda Ashram Yoga Retreat in the Bahamas. She was training to be a yoga instructor. I've heard several accounts that Taylor is transgender, which may have made her vulnerable. I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but I think it's important in this case. The Royal Bahamas Police Force said in a statement that it found the cell phone and other items belonging to Casey. The device was found in nearby waters, and the journal and other personal items were also discovered as part of its investigation.
And I'm just crying and crying out for Taylor, and feeling my child.
Casey's loved ones just back.
The Royal Bahamas Police Force said it has deployed divers, drones, tracking dogs, and Paradise Island-based officers in its ongoing search for Taylor. This is a matter of priority for the Royal Bahamas Police Force, a representative says. We will continue to work arduously, doing all we can to locate Taylor and ensure her safe return to her family.
We used our drone technology. We used our canine. We've used our divers. We've used a number of resources. And so our investigation continues into this matter.
But Peter Goudie goes on to say, we are concerned that the story infers that TaylorCasey was abducted from the ashram. This is false and defamatory and not based on facts. The tent photo in the NBC story taken by Ms. Casey's family shows no sign of struggle. Her toothbrush and personal care products were in the tent in the photo, indicating she was going to return. Her passport, items of clothing, and purse were not in the tent photo either, indicating she took them with her, along with her phone. The statement Ms. Casey's family and friends sent NBC claimed a retreat participant recalled that an unidentified man in a Celtics cap who claimed to be from Chicago approached Ms. Casey and followed her onto the compound, expressing interest in yoga classes. The retreat company said it followed up with a participant, and that person said they made a mistake identifying the man. The man is from Atlanta and was staying next door at the Atlantis resort. Mr. Goudie said he was simply taking a stroll on the beach and was interested in knowing more about our yoga classes. We often have inquiries about the yoga retreat from the guests at Atlantis. Mr. Goudie goes on to try and dispel another allegation made in that report. He says an individual was described as holding a walkie-talkie, and to the best of their knowledge, they believe that this is a security guard for one of their neighbors. He entered into the ashram at about 2 p.m., a time when our students were in class, and stayed for a couple minutes and left. Mr. Goudie goes on to say that the retreat company spent hours with police as officers explained the full extent of their investigation to the family, allowed the family to see the space Ms. Casey occupied and the beach where she had been. The company claims it also spent hours answering the family's questions. While there is some evidence that the retreat has taken some accountability in reporting Taylor missing, and I wouldn't say that it's been proven that she's been abducted. Prayerfully not. It is possible that Taylor may have had an accident involving the water. However, according to the News Nation report with Brian Enton and the Casey family, there were some missing steps. There were no missing person posters disseminated throughout the complex. It's like once they confirmed her missing, they went hush-hush. The information wasn't disseminated to the other students. Some of the students ended up leaving because they were upset they weren't even informed of a missing person. Taylor's mom says Taylor would never leave the retreat without telling her. She goes on to say they aren't taking the disappearance of her daughter seriously. They have not received any or seen any surveillance video. And if I'm not mistaken, Taylor's mom's granddaughter was actually the person that pinned Taylor's phone in the water. The tent photos may not show signs of an abduction, but they also don't prove she wasn't abducted. Maybe something happened to her on the beach, and maybe you didn't see her purse because, of course, she had it with her, as most women take their purses with them when they go somewhere. Peter Goudie, in my opinion, didn't do anything but make the quote, retreat, end quote, seem suspicious. The other points he made are irrelevant because they were leads by retreat participants. So what they didn't pan out still doesn't mean she wasn't abducted. I thought it was distasteful to make those comments, and Peter Goudie, who was the secretary of the Chamber of Commerce at one time and now a consultant to the chamber, has an agenda. So what do you think that agenda is? Commerce, of course. They don't want to lose business. The other gray area for me is this a retreat or is it a school? They offer yoga certification, however, they refer to it as a retreat. So it's a little confusing. I mean, is this yoga certification accredited? If so, shouldn't this place be guided by certain regulations? Shouldn't it be considered a school? I mean, why wouldn't they have security and other standard procedures in place? Why wouldn't you alert your students or your participants for their own safety? Sending this spokesperson, Peter Goudie, in my opinion, makes the place look suspicious. Just support this family until you find out what happened to Taylor. You can't prove Taylor wasn't abducted from Sivananda. No one knows. Why not just say we don't know? But to keep the integrity of our community and the values that we preach and chant, we're going to support Taylor's family to the best of our ability. And we just don't know what happened to Taylor at this time, but we're looking and we are just as vested as you are in finding out what happened. Instead of supporting the student and the family, they chose to send this guy. And I just think that was a bad move. So before I go, according to Bedtime Crime Stories podcast, I'm going to drop a link in the description so you can listen at your leisure. Listen to how a former retreat participant describes Sivananda, and I'm going to end it with that. Check it out. Make sure to like the video, subscribe for more stories, and share the latest updates with others interested. This is Gigi. Peace.
I want to read you an email that I received from someone who has actually stayed at that ashram before and in one of those tents. Many of the ashram fans have tried to push a drowning narrative, and I 100% do not believe that. If she had drowned, her body would have washed up to the shore by now. And this is all besides the fact that it seems very unlikely that a 41-year-old transgender woman who has likely learned over the years how to keep herself safe would have done something as risky as swim alone in the dark, despite strong cautions against doing so. The water there can be rough, and I did not enjoy swimming on that beach, and I'm a strong swimmer. I find it inconceivable that Taylor would swim in that water after dark, especially since the ashram warns you not to. So this person, who shall remain anonymous, by the way, said also, I suspect that someone or some people at the ashram may have had something to do with her disappearance, and I would not be surprised if ashram staff / disciples were involved. She also said she thinks that the place could attract some rather messed up people. Ashrams typically do tend to attract people with mental health issues. All of that, in conjunction with being cut off from the regular world, can create some very abnormal thought processes. So that's what this person who has been to this ashram had to say. I'm finding this person very helpful, and I have the feeling that she is very concerned.